Welcome to Your Yes-Filled Life. I'm your host, Brenda Winkle, educator, healer, speaker, guide, and fierce advocate for your yes. I help sensitive and successful men and women find, reclaim, and live from their full embodied yes. Through empowering you to understand your energetic hygiene, establish healthy boundaries, and heal your nervous system, you'll be able to create your yes-filled life and move through your days with more freedom, more ease, and more joy. You'll hear inspiring stories of people who found their full-bodied yes, thought leaders who pursued their own dreams and are living life on their terms, and learn new ways to find the courage, joy, ease, and freedom to more fully step into your yes-filled life. Say no to the good so you can say yes to the great. Join me on this journey to discover your yes-filled life. Whether you're looking to break free from the golden handcuffs, start a new business, find your dream job, or simply live with more intention and mindfulness, I've got you covered. Let's explore the possibilities together and make your dreams a reality. Ready? Let's do this. Let's get you to your yes-filled life. Hello, and welcome to Your Yes-Filled Life. I'm your host, Brenda Winkle. Today on the podcast, I'm so excited to introduce you to a new friend named Jo Figueras. But before we dive into that conversation, I have something special for you. So you're either building or perhaps you've built an incredible business, or maybe you work in an absolutely amazing business and you're leading, growing, making an impact. But let me ask you this. Why does success still feel exhausting? Your calendar's full, your clients need you, and somehow there's never enough time to think, let alone rest or create. You love what you do, but deep down, you know this pace isn't sustainable. That's exactly why I created the Energy Audit, a free 10-minute tool designed for high-achieving women like you. In just a few minutes, you'll uncover exactly what's fueling you, what's draining you, and what small shifts can help you lead with more clarity, energy, and confidence. Because here's the truth. When you manage your energy like the high-level leader you are, everything gets easier. Decisions, boundaries, and success that actually feels good. Your intuition comes online, and that feels amazing. Go to brendawinkle.com/audit to grab your free energy audit now. Take the first step toward leading with ease on your terms. Now, let's get to know a little bit about Jo Figueras. Jo Figueras is a metaphysical and consciousness educator with an international client base, facilitating workshops and intuitive consultations using the multi-modality system of spiritual tetralogy. She is the co-host of the Esoterics podcast, a platform to discuss metaphysical and spiritual topics with a never too serious style. She also co-facilitates workshops and retreats in beautiful parts of the United States. To feed her creative soul, she's an intuitive jewelry designer and silversmith, using her intuitive abilities to design custom pieces commissioned based on her customers' tetralogy. She lives and loves in the beautiful Pacific Northwest and is available for podcast guest appearances, speaking engagements, and facilitation opportunities. I can't wait to introduce you to Jo Figueras. Jo, I'm so excited for today. Thank you for being here.
I am excited to be here.
So I'd love to kick it off with this question, which is, what is one thing you either did or did not do that has led you to your yes-filled life?
I moved here to Portland. That is the one thing that I did. It was the middle of the pandemic. I was like, why am I still here in Michigan? And it's time to leave. It's time to go. And I did it. And just me and my dog and my niece. And I sold everything, closed my business, filled up a U-Haul and said, where I go, that's where I'm going to be.
Oh, that's so good. I moved to Portland during the pandemic too.
You did?
Yeah,
Fantastic.
I
Isn't it? It's
did.
amazing.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
It's amazing. Like the longer I'm here, the more I love it.
Same.
Yeah. Yeah. It's incredible. So, uh, um, we're both in Portland, and it's so cool because I feel like I've been looking for my people in Portland,
Yes.
and then I met you and I was like,
Yes.
oh,
Yes.
this is going to be fun.
Yes, yes. I think I had mentioned to you that is the minute that I saw you, I was like, we have a soul connection. There's a past life
Mhm.
there. There's something
Mhm.
there. And when I met you in person, I was like, oh, because it was very natural. It was like, oh, there you are,
Yeah.
because I too have been looking for my people. It's hard, and Portlanders don't like to admit that they're not the most warm people. I'm from the Midwest, and they're like, you don't need to be so friendly. It's just a natural thing. I can't help it.
Same. I wouldn't have even identified as friendly. I was just like, this is just how you do stuff. This is how you talk to people. This is, you greet everybody, you have a conversation with everybody. Um, and the Midwestern goodbye is my default goodbye, the goodbye in 7 stages.
Yeah.
Um,
Well, get it started.
yeah. Oh my gosh. Well, I'm so glad we connected.
Yeah. Same,
Yeah.
same here. And the other thing about that's different with Midwesterners and West Coasters is that we make eye contact, I think, a
There's
lot.
a lot of eye contact in the Midwest.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
So anyway, so I'm glad I'm here now bringing my Midwestern over friendliness to the West Coast because we're adding to it.
I'm glad too. Yes. Amazing. So, we're here to talk about, well, all the things. We'll see where this goes because it can go a lot of different places. But your tetralogy reading the other day for me was really eye-opening and validating and so powerful. And I want to talk about that kind of as we talk, but can you tell us a little bit about what is tetralogy and how it can be used?
It is a reading, a specific, very unique reading of it's a soul blueprint, soul mapping reading that's come up over the years. I've added to it. I started out doing Akashic readings and then added numerology, then added astrology, and then learned human design. And then when I started using all of those modalities together, I was like, whoa, when I use them within the Akashic records, it was a whole new thing. And I'm like, all right, I don't know what this is, but I'm going to explore it. Numerology is your what, astrology is the when and the why, human design is the how. And then Akashic records is it's looking at the core, the root of the what, when, why, and how.
Hmm.
And it literally gives you a guidebook for yourself as a human because it was written in the life between life phase by you, the soul. You wrote it yourself. So the reason that it's so clarifying for people, and it really is, people love this report, they love this reading, is because they're like, you validated so much for me. And it's like, because your soul wrote it, your soul just needed to be reminded.
Yeah, that's so, so good.
Yeah.
So I'm always listening through the lens of the listener
Yeah.
who may be coming here for the first time and they heard the word Akashic Records and human design. Probably people know what astrology is and probably people know what numerology is. Maybe not like what it is, but they've heard of it. Could you unpack a little bit about what is human design, how people can use it, and then also what are the Akashic Records?
Yes. Human design is based on astrology, I Chi. There's several different modalities, and it was channeled by a gentleman, I believe, who calls himself Ra Uru. And I'm not an expert on the origins of human design, but it basically gives you the system, how you're designed energetically, and how you can best show up in the world, how you can best make decisions. It's a phenomenal tool. A lot of coaches use it. It's wonderful. Um, Again, it's the how, it's the user's manual for you as a human. The Akashic records, I call the Akashic records like cloud storage for your soul. It's
Mm.
it's the best way
That's
to
good.
describe it. a lot of people get the image of a library, and the Akashic records are not a library. It's an energy. It's an energy that you sort of tap into, and then you have access to your soul's history. And there's nothing in the Akashic records that I have ever queried it for a client or myself that hasn't been answered. It's just you have to ask the question in a specific way, because it won't do yes or no, because that takes away free will. You won't get yes or no answers. There's just a few things that the energy says, recalibrate, right? Ask again, ask differently.
I love that. And so thank you for both of those answers. Let's talk a little bit about free will, because I think one of the things that can get people stuck is either they don't want to be told who they are, what to do, that kind of thing. But the other way people can get stuck is they think that if they come to a reading like this, we're going to give them like the how-to manual for next steps. So let's talk about, how does free will impact our lives?
Free will is the ability to make choices and decisions. That's what free will is. And as humans, we are here on earth as an experiential experience, for a double entendre there. So we're given these choices, and the decisions that we make actually create our reality. So that's what free will is. We have the ability to say, no, I'm not going to go down that road. I'm not going to go to Portland. I'm going to stay in New Orleans, right? And then the soul has several different tracks of potentials and possibilities in order to reach that same goal, because the soul's goal is evolution, it's growth, it's balancing of karma. And there's 1,000 different ways to get there, probably more than that, based on free will. It's a tool.
Amazing. Okay, so this is so cool that we can choose things. And then also, from my work as a psychic medium and in the intuitive spaces, free will can change the outcome of a reading.
Yes.
And so it's important to just always come back to, you have free will, you have free choice to use this information in any way that feels resonant to you.
Yes. During readings, I get pushed. Well, I used to, because now I approach it differently. But when I first started doing Akashic readings, I got pushed back on, I would never choose these parents, right? Trauma, abuse, that sort of thing. And I would remind people that those parents have free will. They can choose to be in their trauma wounding mode, or they can choose to get the help that they need in order to be a different type of parent. So that's where free will plays in. But as a soul, we say, well, I'm going to choose these parents because they're going to give me the highest percentage of the experiences that I need. Now, whether that's positive or negative depends on them. So, again, free will, it's like potential and possibility. It's a human, time is not linear. It's that sort of concept that outcomes change based on our decisions.
Yeah, I love that. There's so much power in knowing that we have the ability to make a different decision and then have a different result.
Yes.
So cool.
I just channeled something the other day. It was really quick. It was about the whole point is to create of existence. The whole point is to create, and we do that through our choices and learning that we are co-creative beings. So, that can open you up to, like, I believe it's called like the 100-man theory or something like that, but it can get super esoteric. But the point is that we get to decide our reality. And yes, there are socioeconomic impactors, there's, bias and all of those things, right? Yes, but those are all free will decisions that impact other people. Free will.
It's so cool. So cool. So, one of the things that I commit to in my life is to coming at things as a beginner, to come in with the beginner's mind. And I find that I learn so much. And the reason I'm saying this is, when I came in to my reading with you, I could have been like, well, I've worked with human design people before, so I know all that, and I know this and blah, blah, blah. But by coming in with the beginner's mind and just being like, I can't wait to learn what is going to come through, it was so validating to have the 4 parts, the tetralogy, all 4, because it was just like validation upon validation upon validation upon validation.
Yes.
And it it was a little bit like I could breathe more deeply, like,
Yes.
oh, that's why.
I
Yeah.
love that.
Yeah, it's so cool. And I love the unique way that you have been able to braid them together. And it is very unique. It is not, it's not typical for, I've done the Akashic readings, I've done numerology readings, I've done, well, all the readings. And this is something special.
Thank you. I thought so too. Not to toot my own horn, but beep beep. It was just over the years, I just kept these amazing dots kept connecting. Now, whether it was because I was in the Akashic records and I had the help of my spiritual advisors or my psychic medium abilities were popping off, I don't know. But all of the sudden, well, not suddenly, but I started connecting dots between these four modalities. So, for instance, your life path number in numerology supports your sun sign number. Your rising sign in astrology supports your personality number. The gifts and the abilities in your birthday number in numerology supports your human design authority, right? It's that mind body connection. So there's just, it's very different modalities that are all, I call them, they are all working together to create your astro rhythm, these celestial sort of, this celestial algorithm in the sky. It's making sure that you're on track and you're going to stay connected through the moon phases, the eclipses, and your nodes. You're going to stay connected with the plan that your soul wrote for you.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So for the listener that is very science minded, very
Yes.
data driven, and she's like, okay, wait a minute. We're getting a little out there for me. Um, because I know that those listeners are here, in
Yes.
addition to the ones that are like, tell me all the things about being a
Yes.
medium. There's a little bit of both. If we talk about a soul blueprint,
Mm-hmm.
how would you break that down for the listener that's like, I don't like the quote unquote woo?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. All right, now my Capricorn sun is going to speak to these people, right? The people that are like no woo. So at that point, what I would say is that as a human being, we have natural tendencies that are written within our personality traits, our character traits, coping mechanisms, all of those things. And they're all developed from early childhood caregivers, early experiences, that sort of thing. So our natural tendencies are going to come through when they're uncovered through therapy, shadow work, healing work, that sort of thing. So the soul is going to evolve, whether it's woo woo or whether it's
Mm-hmm.
non woo woo, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's still about evolution and growth. So depending on how you look at it, you're going to look at it as personal development. Wonderful, fantastic. Everybody could use that. Or you can look at it as a soul evolution or soul astrology or spiritual tetralogy. It doesn't matter.
I love that answer.
Thank you. I say all roads lead to, evolution and growth.
Yes. Yes. So I had this awareness that just popped in last week, and it's been in the perimeter of what I've been thinking about for a while, because I was part of a media mastermind. And so I went to this retreat and there were journalists there from all over the world, top-notch journalists. And one of the things that they kept saying is, I can't print things that are woo. And so I was unpacking that a little bit with several different people, like top-notch journalists like Susie Walker and Margie Conlin, and it took me until last week to realize what they were actually saying,
Yeah.
which is they don't want there to be any kind of fantasy marketing or made up baloney.
Yeah.
Really, that's what it comes
Yes.
down to.
Yes.
And so I love that you're anchoring this into, this is just your evolution. This is your growth as a human.
Yep. Yes.
And so I think that the word woo, as
Mhm.
it's used in so many different circles, is to mean, I don't want to be tricked. I don't want to be manipulated. I want only the truth. That's what dropped in last week.
Yes, I love that. And that's all based on someone's level of faith, right? Because I am not a religious person. I have never been. And I have lots of cool past lives. That there's a reason for that, right? I don't necessarily agree, subscribe to organized religion, but I have a faith in a higher power, God, goddess, universe, source. It doesn't matter. That is untouchable, untouchable. I
Mhm.
have a great deal of faith that there is something else out there. So, again, woo and religion are human constructs. They're created for the purposes of whatever. It all begins with you. What do you believe? What do you have faith in? And how do you use that to then create your life experiences?
I love that.
You can take the woo out of anything. And I always tell my clients, every single piece of woo out there is science based. There's a science behind it,
Every
all of it,
single one.
every
Every
single
single
one.
one,
Yep.
including mediumship.
Yes. Yes.
Yes, there's a whole university that studies psychics.
I know.
It's so cool.
I want to go. I
I
don't
do
know of it.
too.
What's the name of it?
It's escaping me at the moment.
Yes. Okay.
So I apologize. I'll put it in the show notes if I find it. But it feels like I don't even want to say what state it's in,
Right.
but
Right. Right.
um, it's a whole branch of a major university, like one of the Ivy Leagues. And
Oh,
so I'll look it up and put it in the show notes as a reference. But there are people who are studying this work and they're finding that the brains, the neuroreceptors, neurotransmitters are different
yep.
in people who have these abilities.
Hmm.
And so they're more sensitive to temperature, they're more sensitive to facial expressions, and then the things that we have a more difficult time measuring, like energy, for example. But even that can be measured if we have the right equipment.
It's absolutely true. And I believe that right now we're just not in the right phase, right? We've just entered Pluto and Aquarius, but give it 20 years. I believe that this will be taught at the student level because some of the reasons, I will say, a lot of the issues that we have within humanity and the collective and everything is simply because people are not able to express themselves authentically. They're not able to, perform that purpose. And it all starts with learning how to manifest, right? It starts with or I'm sorry, not manifest. It starts with addressing and recognizing your empathic abilities. And then from
Yes.
there, your HSP abilities. And then from there, your mediumship abilities and on and on and on.
Yes, 100%. So, one of the things that I have been leaning into over this past 2 years specifically because of the work with the journalist telling me, you got to find science before we can quote this. And I respect that. I
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
absolutely respect that. So, it's actually made me do more of my own due diligence. But one of the things that I'm learning is that there is a disempowerment that's happening in a lot of the circles that talk about HSP and empaths, as
Yes.
in, oh, the world is so hard. It hurts so much. I can't function. And one of my passions is to lead people to their own empowerment. I can't
Yes.
empower somebody, but I can give them the tools so that they feel empowered. And I'm sensing you feel that way as well.
I absolutely do. That's sort of like if I had a mission and vision statement. Well, I'm a 33/6 master teacher. That's my life path number. And so the goal or the reason, the purpose of a 33/6 is to teach others, but it's done through the lens of you experience these things, you overcome them, and then this gives you the tools to teach others, help others, and empower others. I don't have a prominent 8 in my core chart like you do. And 8 is the empowerer. I have one in my sub chart, my minor
Mm-hmm.
numbers,
Mm-hmm.
and yeah, it's that's what we live for. I just did a video. I got a testimonial from one of my clients. I've been working with her over years, and when I first met her, she was like, I don't know, I'm kind of intuitive, but she's a nutritionist, and she's like, I would love to incorporate this into my work, but I'm afraid it's a very um conservative field, registered dietitians and nutritionists and
Mm-hmm.
stuff. And she
Mm-hmm.
just sent me an email and she said, I did it. I did it. And her website is clearly labeled an intuitive, a medical intuitive, and an intuitive registered dietitian. And that just, I was like, oh my gosh, like she's now living her most authentic self. And that's exactly
Yeah.
what every soul is here to do. But, you know,
That's
we
right.
teach
That's
us.
right. And you can feel it when you meet somebody who's like living into their purpose. They're not masking, they're not pretending like they're not who they are. There's something you can just feel about it, about them, and it's magnetic.
It is. It is charismatic, magnetic, the
Yes.
chemistry, you're like, I want to be around you and I want to learn from you and I want to collaborate with you. And you really, people that live their purpose and they live authentically, not perfectionists, there's no perfection, but
Mm-mm.
you're letting your soul speak and guide you. You're letting the universe work through you. Those are the people that I want to be around, that I want to make friends with,
Yeah.
that I want in my
Yes.
soul families and groups. Yes.
Hmm. So the other night we were at this event together, and it was the first time that we'd
Yeah.
met in person. And when you walked up to me, there was this recognition
Yes.
that was like, oh, I've been waiting to see you.
Yes.
And there was a little bit of that magnetism, that charisma, that here I am.
Yeah.
And it felt so soothing. Like my system recognized it as, oh, this is like safety, home, family connection. Yeah.
Yes. I feel the exact same way. When you posted in the I'm not sure what Facebook group it was, looking for um podcast guests, usually I'm like, no. There's various reasons why, but I'm like, no, I'm not doing that. And I was just on autopilot. I'm like, oh, and as soon as I clicked on your profile and I just saw your face, I'm like, I don't know, you reminded me of home. You reminded me of like my friends at home that I grew up
Mm,
with, somebody that I went to high school with or whatever, right? So I was like, I must figure out what this is, right? We're gonna be
yeah.
friends.
We're already friends. Yes.
Friends,
Yes.
it's true.
Yes. Oh my gosh, it's so good. So your application came through. By the way, that was overwhelming. I'm still sifting through all of the applications.
Oh, that's
Um,
fantastic though.
and it's a wonderful problem to have, and I'm so grateful for it. And so I'm looking at like 100
Oh
applications,
my goodness.
and I was just scanning, 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 scanning. My eyes stopped on your name.
Yeah.
And without any, I mean, I had my my SOP for how I was going to do this, and I totally bypassed it. I just clicked copy and paste to the email and was like, let's meet.
Yes, I love that. And I'm currently writing my newsletter. I'm going to drop it in a couple days, and it is about community. Like right now, it's so important for people to have community. And I remember asking the universe. It was about 3-4 months ago, and I said, I really need community. I was in a 7 personal year, and 7 is a very introverted, self-focused year. It's a year of developing your consciousness, your spirituality. It's meant to be a lonely year. By October, I was over it. I'm an extrovert. I need people. So
Mm,
I said, I need people. And then, I saw Marley's announcement for the first energy exchange, and things just started rolling. And so now I realize, oh, there's a great deal of importance for people to reconnect. But
mhm, mhm.
we need to reconnect with people who are a vibrational match for us.
That's right.
Yes.
So it comes down to discernment.
Yes.
And so I'd love to talk about this. Like, how does it hit your system when you're using your discernment and something is a yes, this is for me?
Hmm.
For me, it feels smooth. It
Yes.
feels easy. There's a warmth. There's a desire to kind of lean in physically.
Hmm.
And I feel like an excitement, almost like butterflies in my stomach in a
Yes.
I can't wait for this thing to happen kind of way.
Yes.
How does it hit your system?
Similarly, excitement. I get inspiration. My crown tingles,
Mm,
and I just know that everything will be provided for this along the way. So I get more of an excitement, like an energized excitement.
mm.
I'm a manifesting generator.
I am
You,
too.
you are too. Yes.
Yeah. And I didn't realize this until you said it, but my crown is tingling
Yes.
now. Yes.
Yes.
So I definitely have that.
Yes.
So speaking of manifesting generators,
Mhm.
when I first learned about human design, which wasn't that long ago, like 2.5, 3 years ago, I, for the first time in my life, realized, oh, there's nothing wrong with the way that I do this. And up until then, even though I had been outwardly successful, I mean, by all practical measuring standards, I had been outwardly successful. I had this inner dialogue of I start things, but I don't finish them. I have 75 gazillion ideas. I go from thing to thing to thing, and I made it a liability until I understood that's what manifesting generators do. They get
That
ideas and they withdraw the things that are meaningful and rich, and then they move on to the next thing.
Yes, that's what they do. That also, you have that seven energy too. Sevens are the seekers of deeper meaning. They're the seekers, they're not the finishers. So you have a lot of half read books, half read projects, but you
Yes.
don't get rid of them because you
No,
might refer to them later,
that's
right?
right.
It's your resource. So you've said it perfectly. I say this, I believe someplace in the report that I give people after this entire system, spiritual tetralogy, is about looking at your character traits, not flaws. They're not flaws. They're traits
Mhm.
that are simply out of balance. Maybe one of the more challenging aspect of your trait is at play. But yeah, that's the beauty of it. It gives you permission to be okay with, those things, right? I would get so mad at myself in the corporate world because I would submit an email or something and I would look back and there would be typos in it or something. And I
Mhm.
looked it over like 7 or 8 times, right? Because manifesting generators tend to have to go back and redo their work. And, and once I realized that, I was like, oh, so I just don't get mad at myself anymore about it. I don't consider myself to be imperfect, or I should. I think manjuns should all come with a VA, an assistant, a Virgo assistant. We all need that.
Oh, we all do need a Virgo assistant. Yes, someone
Yes.
that can take care of the details.
Yes.
Yes. Yeah, I used to be embarrassed when I would have an email that would go out, and then I always subscribe to my own email list because I want to be an
You want to see? Me
experiencer of
too.
it. And so I would just get an email and I'm like, oh man, oh man. And so at the beginning, I would go apologize. And now I'm just like, you know what? If you're going to not like me because of an email or because I forgot to put something in the button that you click and it just takes you to Kajabi, I'm so sorry. But
Mm-mm.
I'm,
No. No, no, it's just, it stops us from beating ourselves up, which is why,
Mhm.
I love looking at all four of those modalities together. Don't beat yourself
Yeah,
up. You're a human. You're here to, have an experience. And part of that experience is accepting yourself as imperfect, but still worthy and still beautiful and still amazing and fun and all those things, right? Like,
that's it.
who cares if you're not perfect? Like, who is perfect?
You know,
Nobody.
I heard something once, and I don't know if it's true. I should probably fact check it, but I heard that the people who write the Disney shows, or maybe it's not Disney, but one of those DreamWorks or whatever. Do you know how they, according to this story I heard, you know how they make the villains really, really hateable?
How?
They make them perfect.
Oh, oh.
Isn't that interesting?
That. Yes, DreamWorks. They're manipulating us through animation. Okay, but who doesn't love a good DreamWorks animation or a good animation movie, right? I love that.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know anybody that is perfect. You know what? When I first started reading people, way back in, like, I don't know, 2014 or 2013, when I first started doing professional readings, one of the things that blew my mind was I had this idea of how imperfect I was. And then when you get in and you start reading people and you hear their stories, you're like, holy crap, nobody has their stuff together.
Nobody.
Everybody has something that they want to work on, even the most perceived perfect person out there. And I'm not saying that was like, that didn't make me go, yay. That made me go, I'm not damaged.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it also, I relate to this so deeply. And it gave me permission to show up more fully because there was a part of me that said, since I'm still working on XYZ, maybe I shouldn't be doing this thing that I want to do. And then by having opportunity to talk with more people, I realized, oh, they're also working on stuff.
Yes. Yes, yes.
Yeah.
Because you probably get a lot of people who are like you just said, like, I can't launch this course until I can't do this until this, and I can't do that until this. And it's like, well, if it's in your soul and you're feeling energized by it, that's your sign that you're meant to do this. And maybe if you look at divine timing and divine order, and if you could take yourself to the end, you absolutely had to do it now in order to experience A, which would move you to B, which would make you make the decision to and go this way instead of that way. And you're exactly where you're meant to be in the end.
Say that again for the people in the back. Yes.
Surrendering and letting the universe work through you and let go of that resistance of making it like this one specific way, because that's not going to get you where you need to go. It's just going to hold you up.
Totally. Totally. And I don't know about you, but I have found that if I hang on to a specific way or
Yep.
a specific way of being or even a place, or it does, that's not how it work. There's a
Nope.
fluidity always. And the more that I allow myself to roll with that, the more fun I have.
Yes. Yes. I hear people all the time say that man gens are meant to um, grab onto their heck yeses, right? They use different words, but I'm going to keep it PG here. Right. I mean, so I always follow my yeses. And we're told by not only our culture, but other cultures that, it's irresponsible to follow your dreams or your joys and stuff. And that's maybe for older generations, but that's no longer the formula for happiness. It's completely different. Millennials and Ys and Zs and even Xers and stuff, it's a different world.
It is a different world.
Yep.
And I sometimes I feel like, why wasn't this modeled for me? And then when I really look into culture and society and norms, I'm realizing that my mom, she's 76, my mom was the first generation of women that had the opportunity to make a choice to work
Yep.
outside the home.
Yep.
And according to her, she had three choices. She could be a secretary or a teacher, and I can't remember the third one. But she really perceived a nurse. She could be a secretary, a teacher, or a nurse. And she didn't know that there were other choices because it wasn't modeled for her. So when I remember, oh, this is where we've come from in the last however many years, we've actually come a very, very long way.
A very long way. We have choices, right? Again, if we want to be a doctor, we can be a doctor. I always tell people if you have the dream of being a race car driver, then go be a race car driver, right? Like it's in there for a reason. It's written in your soul blueprint. That it's all about that choice. So hopefully we
Yeah.
continue.
I love that. So we're not done, but I want to make sure that we give people a chance to connect with you.
Okay.
Where can they find you?
JoFigueras.com. That's my website. And from there, you can get me through all of the avenues. You can follow me on Instagram, listen to my podcast. You can take a course, buy a piece of jewelry, anything that I have. Remember, I'm a manifesting generator, so I have 1,000 different things to feed my soul at any given time.
That's amazing. Amazing. Yes. So go give Jo a follow. And Jo, I'll put all those links in the show notes as well. So listeners, go check out all the links.
Yes.
And start with the main at the website, because then that'll take you to all the places.
Everything.
And I love that you have permissioned yourself to do the jewelry, to teach the course, to give the readings, to move to Portland.
Yep.
Was there ever a time in your life when it would have been more difficult to give yourself that permission?
Before when I left the corporate world in 2016, I just remember sitting there. I was in marketing and PR. I had a great job with a great company. It wasn't the type of company that people leave. And I just remember sitting there going, I can't do this one more day. Or I would say, I could be working on these things that really light me up. And so finally one day I just said, I'm done. I'm not doing it. And I didn't have, I had a trip to Italy planned. I had $30 in my checking account because, I was like spending and buying purses and shoes and, and stuff like that. And I was like, this is literally either the most irresponsible thing I've ever done in my entire life, or it's the biggest leap of faith ever. And I will tell you, there has not been one time when the universe has let me down. There have been lessons that when I didn't listen, but never once have I not been supported along the way.
Mm. I love this. So my experience was very similar. I kept telling myself that I had to be a teacher. I might as well finish it out till retirement. I had 7 years left in Idaho. And then I was like, I literally cannot do one more day. So I moved to Oregon. And then I was like, oh, wait, here I am again. Like it's a different state, different schools, different district. And here I am. It's not the school or the district or the state or the town. It's me. And all I could think of was, I want to do this work. I want to do this work. I want to host a podcast. I want to help people. I want, to help people find their richest, most juicy life. And it was in that realization, like I was irritated by having to do the work that I was supposed to be doing. And all I wanted to do was get home and go do the stuff I wanted to do.
Yes.
And that was my jumping off point. And it took a lot of courage and a whole summer. And it took me being in front of a group of people. I was running a challenge. It was called Yes to Me. And it was a 5-day challenge. So day one was on a Monday. And I was like, yeah, just do the things that light you up and do less of what doesn't. And I got off the call and I was like, I have to go to school next Monday. I don't want to go.
Do less of what doesn't.
Yeah. And then, Tuesday was the same thing. And then I thought to myself, wait a minute, this is bigger than that because I'm out of integrity now.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm out of integrity with me and I'm telling people to do something I'm not willing to do. And so by Friday that week, I had resigned from my teaching job. School was supposed to start on Monday. So the district I was working for said that I was required to come to work or find a replacement, and that there was going to be some pretty severe repercussions if I didn't do either one of those. And I was like, okay,
Right.
okay, let me help you find somebody.
Right.
And so I found this wonderful person who was looking for a job in this part of the town.
Yes.
And he is living happily ever after in that job. And I'm living happily ever in this. And it feels good.
Synchronicities, soul contracts, and agreements activated as soon as you make a decision. And that's that quantum shifting. That is. And also what's interesting about what you did is that's a beautiful example of you saying, my needs, my soul is so much more important than my fears. I just can't do this anymore. And as scary as this is or could be, my soul is calling. It's just more important. And that's putting you first. And, that's something that the universe looks for and says, in relation to an up level, leveling up, living at that next level, and you only get to live there for a little while until the universe says, time for more lessons. You're going to get tested. And, and we're like, no, I'm comfortable. I like this. This is great. Right. And we have no idea what the universe has in store for us at that next level.
Oh my gosh, that is so true.
Yeah.
So I'm wondering, two things came up for me. One is, let's talk about soul contracts.
Yeah.
In case somebody hasn't ever heard of that. And then the other thing that's coming up for me is related to capacity to tolerate change. How we can help people move through that fear of, if I do this thing, if I up level, something's going to change.
Yes.
Can we talk about that piece first, and then we'll go back to soul contracts?
Absolutely. This is the topic of my newsletter that's going out in a couple days. Yes. Yes. See,
Of course it is.
So I just want to have these notes up so that I can make sure that I'm actually talking about everything the way that I want it to.
Oh, I love that you have this document.
Yes.
Ready to pull up. Of course you do.
Yeah. I'm a Capricorn. So what you're talking about is, it's resistance, but then it's also, how do I maintain that new level, right? Because you have to make choices and changes at that new level. So, that resistance shows up when we try to break through our current limitations or shifts, right? It's our shadow's way, our inner child's way, it's our ego, whatever you want to call it, that says, I don't know, you're pretty comfortable here. Things are good. You just need to stay here. And
Yeah, good or familiar, either one.
yes, yes, good or familiar. So, you know, there's it comes to renaming surrender as self-trust, because people think surrender, what am I giving up? I'm giving up my
Ooh.
dreams or whatever. Just call
Mm.
it self-trust. It's not surrender. It is surrender, but you're trusting yourself and you're trusting the universe. It's a co-creative conscious partnership.
Mm-hmm.
You cultivate that by making different choices in familiar situations,
Mm-hmm.
offering forgiveness or compassion to others, right? Because it gets harder when you're expected to do it. Let go of those limiting
Yes.
beliefs,
Yes.
and then just taking consistent actions, right? So that's how you cultivate self-trust.
I love that. And,
Yeah.
one of the things that is absent from a lot of conversations around creating change or the word manifesting comes up. One of the things that is missing from many of those conversations is self trust and action. A lot
Yes.
of times you'll
Yes.
hear people just say, "Well, yeah, just be, just like sit on your meditation pillow and be." And I'm just like, that's not how that works. There has to be an action component.
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah. And also, just to sort of segue quickly, when you're in that higher sort of consciousness and you're just being, for most of us, that doesn't work unless you're a Buddhist monk. Don't try to meditate like a Buddhist monk unless you're a Buddhist monk, because your brain, that's your higher self. You're giving your higher self, your soul, your spiritual advisors the space to talk to you. And mine are very chatty. They have things to say. So I don't
Yeah.
I don't do that silence, let it come in and let it go. It doesn't work for me.
It doesn't work for me either because they sometimes talk all at once.
Yes.
And I'm being serious,
Yes.
where there's like different kinds of guides that are coming in. And so I have to find a way to slow it down. That's part of the reason I practice breath work, is because it helps me slow that down. And then also it came down to setting spiritual boundaries with
Yes.
learning how to communicate with my spirit team to say, one of you at a time, please.
Yes. Yes. Yeah. And that's really such a simple answer, but it's like when it gets a little bit too chatty and I'm like, slow it down, one at a
Mhm.
time, one at a time.
Mhm.
But yeah, spirits are opportunists. And for those of us who are mediums and you understand that, if there's an opportunity for them to deliver a message, they're going
Mhm.
to take it.
Mhm.
So, a lot of people get overwhelmed by that. And that's why it's a good idea to say, hold your horses there, Uncle Ted. Give me a minute.
Yeah. So one of my mentors, Kathy Kearns, was on the podcast just a couple of weeks ago.
Oh, wow. That's
And
awesome.
she was talking about, she leads mediumship practice circles.
Yeah.
And so she was talking about, you set your working hours.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
she was talking about, at one point in time, she was walking through the grocery store and like the spirit comes in and thinks she should give a reading to some random woman in the cereal aisle. And that also is like, there's a boundary there that is, you can set. And so if you are listening and you're thinking,
Mm.
maybe I could set some boundaries. Because I tell you what I don't like is somebody thinking they should give me a reading and I don't know them and we're in public. Like that is jarring for me.
It's intrusive. I mean, and honestly, even Teresa Caputo, I'm like, that lady has the audacity, right? Like, I love Teresa Caputo. I love watching her readings, but she really does have the audacity. And it's probably scripted, right? These people already know, but still, I would never walk up to somebody and say, hi, my name's Jo. I'm a medium and I have a message for you. But also, that's not how I interact with spirits. It's always been very intentional for me. Like my spirit guides, because I'm a master teacher, there's a specific time and place for it. Like I am that type of medium that if I were in a haunted house, I would have no idea. I'd be like, what's the problem? Why is everybody all, you know what I mean? Like I don't get that. And I love that I don't get that,
Mhm.
but I don't get bothered by random spirits. Knock wood.
Well, I love that. I did. I was very like scared, like fearful of what's happening in the dark, what's happening in this corner because I could feel things. I didn't
Yeah.
understand what it was and it took understanding, oh, it's spirits.
Yes.
It's not monsters, it's
Yeah.
spirits, and then learning to set boundaries with, who could be in my space at what time. And that has been absolutely game changing.
It's so fun. It's so fun. Oh my gosh, there's so many things we could talk about. You had mentioned action, and the thing that's coming to mind about action is inspired,
Mhm.
and you get the inspiration through your intuitive capabilities, right?
Yes, exactly.
Inspiration.
It's
Yeah.
not random action. It's not action just to do things. It's inspired. I love you. I love that you said that. You brought that
Yes.
back. So let's talk a little bit about soul contracts because we mentioned we were going to do that. And I know what you mean, but for the listener who's like, okay, wait, what?
Mhm.
What's a soul contract?
So there I want to get a little bit more detailed. So there are soul agreements and then there are soul contracts. And soul agreements are two souls coming together that say, we have karma to balance. We have something to do. We have something to do together. And then the souls say, okay, now let's figure out in what capacity we're going to do that. So then they make the contract. So the first piece is the agreement, which is you can get when you add their life path numbers together. And then the second piece is something that you would either need to meditate on, you would need to listen to your soul. You could work with an Akashic reader or a psychic medium or somebody that can actually give you the details of your soul contract. Most people know, right? Like, for instance, let's say two people came together and they're like, we need to balance the karma of taking care of one person needs to be taken care of and the other needs to learn compassion, right?
Mhm.
So they decide that they're going to come together as husband and wife, right? So the soul contract is husband and wife, we're going to have a child, that sort of thing. But the original intent of the karma is the wife, let's just say the wife gets cancer, and the husband, it becomes her caretaker. And that's balancing the karma based on those experiences.
Mm, that's
Yes.
so good to talk
Y-
about the difference between the agreement and the
Yes.
contract. Because I
Yes.
do think sometimes people use those terms interchangeably, but they're
They
not the
do.
same.
They do. Yes. My biggest um the topic that I could just talk hours and hours and hours about is the life between life phase. And that is, once we pass over, what happens? What exists, right? Heaven, for lack of a better term. Um, and we are even more conscious
Mhm.
when we're out of the physical, and we have jobs, we have friends, we have soul groups, we have soul families, we have, a whole rich, wonderful life over there. And so people, yes, they do. I'm not going to say there's misconceptions about it, but there's a lot of detail that goes into life on the other side and writing your soul blueprint. So that's what I do in the life between life phase. I teach people how to write their soul blueprints. So it just makes sense that I incarnate to help people interpret their soul blueprints.
That is so good.
Yeah.
It's so good. So for my soul blueprint reading, it was really impactful because you talked about like being the empowerer and being the seeker. And I have my notes here. I'm going to take it back. Sometimes that's how my brain processes. I don't even have to
Yeah.
read them. I just
Did
have to see
did we
them.
have a past life that came up?
We talked briefly about well, I'm always talking about past lives.
Yeah.
Um, so I'm trying to remember, what did we talk about on Saturday? Oh yeah, we talked about a past life that was learning the same lesson. And once it was in a male form, once it was in a female form.
Yes, I
Yes,
remember now. I remember now. Yes. When I'm in that frame, I'm channeling, and I'm sure you understand that channels, we don't remember it. Once we're out,
that's right.
we don't remember
It's
because it's not us.
it's like the universal privacy system.
Yeah,
Really, it is because
exactly.
I don't
Yes.
remember things about readings either. People are like,
Yeah.
"Remember when you said that thing?" And I'm like, "Nope."
No, no. Sometimes they'll say something and then it's like it'll come and I'm like, oh, now I remember. But it's not, it's very rare that and it disappoints people. People are like, hi, Joe, because we as readers, people are so appreciative. We're giving them something, a beautiful experience. We're sharing this beautiful experience with them. And but it's just difficult if you do even, a couple a day. It's impossible almost to remember people and their specific experiences when they come through us because you're in a higher state. You're
Mhm.
not in your analytical state, you're in your flow state.
Yes. And you're naming something right now, so I can find it really ungrounding
Yes.
if someone asks me a specific kind of question, if I'm in a reading where it's like, I almost feel like I'm jarred. And
Yes.
what you're speaking to is it pulls you out of that channeling.
Yes. Well, there's two things there. So with the Akashic records, I prefer people to ask me questions because the Akashic energy is built on um sound
Mm-hmm.
and the human voice, right? So
Mm-hmm.
what they're doing is I say, tell me about your challenge. And then they'll start talking. And I'm not fishing. What I'm doing is I want you to build that energy, because the stronger and thicker that energy is, the easier it is for me to pull things out of the records, quote unquote, with my psychic abilities. But I always tell people, I have a little blurb at the beginning and I say, if you have a question, write it down. If you have a question, make note of it. Do not stop me in the middle of a channel. If there's something coming out, do not stop
Mm-hmm.
me, because it literally is like getting hit by a Mack truck. You get all discombobulated. And I'm like,
Yes.
I have no idea what was, and it's not helpful to them, because you're like, I don't know what I was saying. Sorry.
That's right. It happens to me in breath work. So I channel as I'm leading breath work. And if somebody puts something in the chat, what song is this? It's like, you might as well have throat punched me.
Yes.
Cause it's just like, whoa,
Yes.
it is so different kind of brain
Yeah.
requirement that I'm not able to do both.
No, it's so hard. I actually spent some time practicing being in channel and stepping out, being in channel and stepping out. The Akashic records help with that, because you can close your eyes, you can get the information, you open them up, and then you interpret it and then go back in, right? So it is a skill that you can develop, but
Mm-hmm.
I just tell people, please don't do that. I mean, just because it
It just
does
takes
it,
more.
yeah, and it is jarring, like you said.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Okay, I'm trying to think. I'm looking at our time and I'm realizing this has been so much fun that I lost track of time just a little bit. Is there anything else that you really want people to know before we close?
Oh my goodness. Just that it's if you're into what I call woo woo 101, right? Crystals and spirit guides and new numbers and angel numbers and all that stuff, that's beautiful, it's amazing, it's wonderful. But I challenge people to take the next step, because now that we're in Pluto and Aquarius, the lessons are all about consciousness evolution, and your consciousness is your understanding of yourself as a spiritual being and spiritual concepts, spiritual laws, spiritual decrees, that sort of thing. So level up, because the level up is coming. That's what my newsletter is going to focus on, this um episode of it, I guess you'd call a newsletter. But the level up is here, it's coming, and it's just going to get um stronger and thicker. And so the more that you um embrace it, the easier it will feel.
It's so good. If somebody wanted to join your newsletter, how would they do that?
From my website. And also, there is a link I've included in the gift that I have for all of your listeners.
Oh, tell us about the gift.
It is I believe it's like a 25-page PDF, but it teaches you how to calculate your own life path number, how to add the together. How to calculate your life path number, how to calculate the life path number of, we'll just call your significant other, how to add the two together to find your soul agreement. And then it talks a little bit about what that soul agreement is based on number. And then also there's a little bit about soul contracts in there.
Amazing. Okay, so
Yeah.
I will link that in the show notes.
Okay.
Go check that out. I'm going to go download it.
Yeah.
And Jo, you are so gifted. There's not a lot of healers or psychics that I will let touch my energy,
Yeah.
and there's not a lot that can hold mine. And I felt completely held and so grateful for you. So if you are looking for support or just wanted to get a better sense of who you are in this iteration of your soul, invitation to go work with Jo. She'll change your life.
Oh, thank you so much. I love that. That's an honor. That's an honor to, like you said, hold people's energy. But yours was so easy. It was like, it just coming together, old soulmates coming together. So
Oh,
so
it felt
good.
good. Thank you. I absolutely loved this conversation with Jo and hope that it was supportive for you too. Jo has a free gift for you. Be sure you go download it by going to jofigueras.com/freebies. And I've linked that in the show notes. One of my big takeaways from this episode and from learning from Jo is how intertwined the 4 disciplines and modalities that Jo deals with really are: the astrology, numerology, human design, and Akashic records. And if you really want to go big, get on Jo's calendar, because I'm telling you, she's so, so talented. Thank you so much for listening to Your Yes Filled Life. Be sure that you go grab your free energy audit by going to brendawinkle.com/audit, AUDIT. I am telling you, this is a game changer. I'm using it every day, and every day I get more clarity on what is truly fueling me and what's depleting me. And I'm getting into the subtleties of really, really interesting small things that are having a big shift on my energy. So go grab that free energy audit. Thank you so much for listening to Your Yes Filled Life. If you loved this episode, would you please give it a rating or a review? And, you know, if you really love this episode and you feel like someone you love could benefit from it, would you please share it with them? Thank you for listening. Bye for now. Until next time.